All right, all right, all right. We are officially live. Welcome back to the Agent Revolution podcast presented by Mike Wall Live, the place where we deconstruct the biggest challenges facing today's real estate agents so that they can build a sustainable, profitable, and most of all, fulfilling real estate business. Today, I've got a very special guest, Mega Agent Vincent Koo, straight out of New York City. And we are going to be talking about how he built a team with more than 400 agents. Yes, I did say 400. We'll talk about where he finds his talent, builds relationships, and builds a winning culture so that no one wants to ever leave him. Hey, don't forget to visit MikeWallLive.com for 8 hours of free real estate training. Vincent, are you ready to rock and roll, my man?
I'm ready, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing good, sir. I'm doing good, man. So before we get started, because I know most of the people that will tune in today will tune in either as people in transition from going to a solo agent to building a team, or people who already have a team and want to continue to build and retain their talent, and then broker owners as well. But before we do that, Vincent, tell us a little bit about your real estate background. Tell us your come to real estate story.
Yeah. Okay. So real estate has been my family's business for as long as I could remember. And I wanted no part of it. Right. So
right.
Coming out of college, I said, let me go blaze my own path. And, I went into wealth management. And, I was doing fine there. I liked the business. And unfortunately, my father fell ill, and that's what showed me into the business. Okay. So coming into the business, parents were the brokerage. So recruiting was always a part of my business. Mm-hmm. Right. And it might not have been for an individual agent, but for me, it was always back in my mind. Right. So as I was listing and selling real estate, I'm thinking, how am I going to help the parents grow? Right. Yeah. So it's 20 years for me now in the business of real estate. We went from independent company to a franchise. Mm-hmm. We were with the franchise for almost 15 years. And most recently just moved everybody over to eXp Realty.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but nonstop while I was listing and selling, it was always about recruiting and growth.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, man, because it seems to me like at the pinnacle of most every business, that's kind of the last challenge or the last obstacle to overcome, right? It seems to me like most of the times when you're starting out, like if you're on your own and you're doing everything, right, you make your first hire, right? And essentially what you do, and we talked about this a little bit last week, is you make a list of all the stuff, and typically it's administrative work, right, as a salesperson, mm-hmm. that you don't want to do, right? And then that list becomes your first job description for your first hire, and then so forth and so on. But, as you grow out a sales team, to me, it seems like, I don't want to say it's much easier. I don't want to minimalize, finding good talent on the admin side. But for me, it's always been more difficult to find good salespeople. And it becomes the everlasting challenge, right? Is that you always want to incorporate new talent, because to scale, if you want to scale a business, you have to scale the amount of business that you do. And by doing that, you have to scale the number of people that you bring, the number of quality people that you bring onto your team. Would you agree with that?
I agree 100%. And it seems like a really, nonstop effort.
Yeah.
Well, it's never, for me at least, I never got to a point where I was like 100% satisfied. I'm done. Here's, that's it. And I'm at critical mass and I'm done. It was always, where can we go next? Where can we expand to next? Where can we scale to? Right. Yeah. So it wasn't into one location. It was, all right, let's grow into that next location.
Yeah. And, I think the aha for me, like the big epiphany, is when I started thinking about people, instead of how they could help me, is what kind of opportunity could I provide for them. Right. And that's when I had that paradigm shift, just not only in my business, but I mean, also just in my life. Right. Is, when you're making prospecting calls, right? I always tell my agents, it's like, stop calling to see what you can get and start calling to see what you can give, right? And, a lot of people, once they made that shift, their business kind of took off. And we were talking, before the show, Vincent, about, how buyers and sellers parallel, finding top agents or, finding administrative staff. It's so similar. Talk about that a little bit.
It is, because you have to really know what you bring to the table. Okay, you have to know what you're going to provide to your clients. You have to know what you're going to provide to your buyers, the experience you're going to offer your sellers, and you have to know what you're going to bring to the table when you bring a new agent on board, right? You have to set up their expectations so they know 30, 60, 90 days what's going to happen to them and their business, right? So if you don't set those things up, then, or if you don't have it identified, how can you present it well to them?
Right.
Right. So you always have to have a few of those things set up, right? Whether it's how you manage leads in the company, how you manage administration, your closing coordinator. You have the benefits set up so that you can present the benefits and let them know how to fit that into their business.
Sure. Let me ask you this, man, because early on, before you were, before you gained the level of business maturity that you do now, because as you go through, you gain experience, and you make modifications based on past experiences, and you grow and you get better. But before you became the person you are today, what were some of your major challenges with like finding and retaining top talent?
I always saw it as progress. I didn't really aim for perfection. I just kept going after it. So I made a lot of mistakes, and I learned through making mistakes.
Yeah.
It was really tough, especially in the beginning, on judging talent, right? So a lot of team leaders and brokers and managers, it's very hard for us to look at somebody and say, you know what, you're going to make it in the real estate business. I guess statistically we can, all right? But I've been proven wrong so many times, right?
Yeah.
So it's really hard to say, okay, if you don't fit this box, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Because, it just, there's so many variables, and it's hard to tell what really drives a person in real sales.
Man, that is a great point. Sometimes there are obvious red flags, right? Like if you have some sort of an onboarding program that includes, just showing up and going to training, and they don't hit that metric, those are the easiest to say, hey, we're probably not interested in being in business with this person. Sure. But the person that actually follows through with that, and maybe you get 2 or 3 or even 6 months down the road, and they're just not performing. Those are the ones that, like you said, sometimes it's hard to really dial into what drives a person like that. Mm-hmm. And you really don't know if they are in alignment with what they should truly be doing. And we talked about this last week, man, or actually we talked about this at our meeting on Monday. And I said, there's a difference between being fearful and being dispassionate, right? And you cannot people are afraid to get on the phones, right? But you can't say that they're dispassionate about it unless they've tried it, right? Now, if you try the phones and if you have success, but you don't like the success you're having, then you're dispassionate, and you should probably find something else to do with your life, right?
Right.
But if you're saying you're dispassionate or you don't like to do it, but you've never tried it, how do you know? You know what I'm saying? So it's really when you start digging into people. I know we talked about learning through experience, Vincent, and for me, we've made some bad hires, we've made some good hires, but you start to see, I think, kind of early on, especially the more experience you get, whether people are going to work out or not. But it is also up to you as a leader to figure out what drives or what motivates a person, because you need to be able to provide that. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree, definitely. And we're constantly kind of diversifying our offerings so that we could touch all the different motivation points for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? We want to understand their personalities, but that's, I find that instead of giving them the test to take, and I don't know if you use the DISC profiling. Yeah. So a lot of us in the industry do. I think that as long as you're well trained in it, and your staff and management, they're well trained in it, that kind of works better than you offering the test out to them, right? Because they could just adjust answers to however they think you want them to answer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So, I'd rather have the staff trained. I'd rather have administration trained so that we could all speak the same language and we could start kind of translating their personality from the first contact.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting, man. The funny thing is the mistake we made early on with bringing agents in is we used to hire on potential, and I learned that was a huge mistake. The shift we made was we started hiring on track record, right? And it didn't necessarily have to be a track record in real estate, because maybe they were on the debate team and they won the state championship, or maybe they were on the golf team and they just showed up as a winner in their past life, right? And we knew that if we got somebody like that, they had really good potential, right, to be a good recruit for us, versus, hey, this person interviews really well, they're really energetic, but boom, 2 months later it was a complete swing and a miss. How about you, man? Any thoughts on that?
Any thoughts on your
hiring potential versus hiring track record? Is it possible to hire potential? Is it even possible to do that?
It's tough. It's really communication skills.
Yeah.
Because I feel that if they're able to express their ideas well to me during the interview and the follow-up and because usually it's not one shot. It requires a certain number of meetings, and we're kind of ranking them through the entire process.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to say, hey, you have that potential, you have the network, you can make it. I can't look at a resume and make a judgment. I really need to sit down face to face with somebody.
Yeah, yeah. And so what kinds of things are you looking for when you actually sit down face to face? What kind of questions are you asking? What are you looking for?
I'm looking for, it's easier with the brand new agents, right?
Sure.
I wouldn't say it's easier. It's just that we've kind of had a really good track record with developing new agents, to the point where it was the top 10 agents all started from scratch with us.
Wow.
And, and then you start developing and start to attract the better agents later on. But for us and what we did, it was always starting with the brand new agents and making sure that they have time to do the real estate. I find that it's so easy to get into this business nowadays. And a lot of people think that getting their license will earn them money in the business automatic, right? So yeah. I need to just make sure that they have time to do the business.
Yeah.
All right. That's number one. And then try to figure out really what their motivation is to do the business, right? Why are you going out there? Why are you getting licensed? Like, what do you need to prove? Is it because you want to get away from this other job, or do you want to achieve? Are you here to be number one, or are you here to just close 3 deals a year?
Yeah.
Right. I need to know that up front.
Are you noticing any commonalities between when you have conversations? Like if you think back to those 10 agents that you brought on brand new, talk about any commonalities you may have seen in the original interview with some of those folks.
Oh boy.
That's a tough one, isn't it, man? Because it may have been a while ago.
Well, it not only is it a while ago, but it's tough in that they're all so different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dad, can you help me? Dad?
Excuse
Love
me.
it.
Yeah. So that's the truth. It's that they're all so different. They all come from such different walks of life.
Yeah.
And a little bit, buddy. I'm sorry. A lot of different responsibilities today,
Yeah.
So,
Listen, we're live. It's a live show. We've had dogs bark. We've had people walk in. Kids are listen. That's the beauty of doing a live show, man. That's what makes it authentic, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So you know what? I wish I could say that every single one of these agents had this one thing.
Yeah.
Right? And I've got some that don't have proper grasp of the English language, but they're number one.
Yeah.
Right? I've got some that are part-time that are doing more than full-time agents.
Yeah.
I've got some that start without cars, right? I've got, you name it. It's really hard to pinpoint
Yeah,
What?
they never make it easy on us, do they, Vincent? And by the way, if you could answer that question, you'd probably be
Oh, no, I know.
yeah, you'd probably be a multi-millionaire. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think that, it's part of our jobs as team leaders, as managers, as brokers, to go out there and recruit, right? So if you're going to go out there, and as a salesperson, I would always get coaching. Why not hire a coach for recruiting?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what I did. I went out and I looked for, I used the Mike Ferry organization, and they had a whole division to work on the recruiting side of the business.
No kidding. I was not familiar with that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, at first I went out there and learned what the agents had to learn, right? Because we want to all speak the same language. We want to be on the same page. We want to be all, with the same script. But then I adjusted it to the managing of the brokerage, managing the managers, and putting the focus on recruiting, right? And, my last year with the brokerage, we were able to bring in, 189 new associates using their method.
Wow. That's insane, man. And so, like, for you guys, when you're looking for agents, I want to go back to something real quick before we move forward. You talked about there is a distinct difference between finding talent and attracting talent, right? Mm-hmm. And if you get to a level to like where you start out, right, where it's almost like you need to find talent because maybe you haven't earned the influence or credibility that you need to have being in the marketplace that a successful team or successful agent has, right? But what happens along the way is that as you start to produce more, right, you have these 10 agents that you talked about. As they start to do more deals, as you start to do more deals, you start to gain momentum into the marketplace. And this is another topic. This will be a great segue, by the way, into another topic about talking to your agents about talking to agents, right? What happens is maybe the chatter or the reputation gets around on a deal where, maybe they're doing a deal with another agent and they're like, well, what's it like, working with Vincent over there at eXp Realty, right? And they say, well, let me tell you a little bit more about that, right? But my point is, they don't know to have that conversation unless you have that conversation with them, right? Yeah. And so talk to me a little bit about how you're kind of, how are you succeeding through your agents, and in doing that, helping them succeed?
I've started that a long, long time ago. It's trying to get them to see you as a partner instead of them recruiting for you.
Sure.
Right? So if they're recruiting for your team, if they're recruiting for your brokerage, the only person that benefits is you, right? So you need to set it up so that they're the one that benefits.
Yeah.
Okay. And luckily we have a system, we have a program that allows them to be incentivized, so that when they're recruiting, they feel like they're recruiting for themselves and for us, the partnership.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest difference. So if you're not set up in a system or a model like that, then go out and create one yourself, right? Incentivize your team members to help you grow the team, because their testimonial is the most valuable thing that you have. Right. Because you could go out there and, put all the recruiting on your shoulders, but there's only so much that one person could do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important, man. And the reason why I like this show so much is because this topic, it fascinates me, because it doesn't matter where you're at in your business. You're always going to end up here. You always are. This is always the destination. And so, there'll be some agents who watch or listen to the show. And like I said, when we started, it's maybe they're a solo agent right now, but they're starting to think, man, do I want to do all this for the rest of my life? And the answer is probably starting to be, no, I don't think I want to do all this stuff all the rest of my life. And if the answer is yes, that's okay. And you can go on and have, maybe a great career as a solo agent, but your production will never go beyond a certain point, because there's only so many hours in the day. And then there's the next agent, the agent who maybe has a team of, 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 people, right? But they want to continue to scale. They want to grow, and maybe they've hit a plateau. And again, the answer to your question is always people. It's always people. It's the only way you're going to scale. And then there's the third person who we know, right? as the broker owner, right? There's a broker owner, and the broker owner, by the way, is really no different than the team leader. It's like all you're doing is you're building your team through your brokerage, and you're expecting them to produce, and then your brokerage is hopefully profitable, which it's probably not, because we know the first word in brokerage is broke, right? And so, but I say that tongue in cheek, but I mean, the reality of it is the reason why I love having this conversation is because I'm learning, and I know you're learning, but I know this topic will resonate with a lot of people, because I was so lazy, Vincent, at first with the way I recruited. I don't even know if I could call it recruiting. It was like, if you wanted to be a part of our team, we were going to give you some leads, and we were going to see if you could perform. We weren't going to hold you accountable, right? We weren't. And then if you just didn't perform, we just let you go, which is, it's a terrible thing to do, because, you have to take ownership of that at some point. But along the way, we went through some great programs. We did career visioning with KW, and we went through some other stuff, and, you learn and you grow. But again, the circle of life in real estate is always recruiting. It's always being able to retain those good people. So talk to me a little bit about retention, long-term retention, and how that problem's kind of been solved for you by joining EXP.
Right. So, I think that our strategy before was, building the proper culture. And I think that strategy still holds, because the truth is, anybody else could copy your splits, right? They could copy your resources, but for them to copy the culture is the difficult thing, right? So
I love that, man.
So you need to protect that at all costs, right? Yeah. You really do. And, aligning with EXP did incredible things for us, just because they already had this built-in culture of sharing and participation. You see, when you treat a top producer like a owner, they give back like an owner.
Yeah.
Right? And that kind of just passes on, from member to member and partner to partner, and that culture is really created and upheld.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the most important thing. And going from one organization to the next, we wanted to make sure that we preserve the culture in our group. And I think culture has a lot to do with communication and gatherings.
Yeah. I love that, man. And honestly, it's a lot of times we get caught up in the fact that, our company, and this is not an EXP commercial, by the way, but it is talking on a level where, creating culture or creating additional wealth streams becomes important if you want your people to stay, because otherwise, if those things aren't in place, they're just going to find them somewhere else. But, it's interesting that my first thought when I joined was, I thought the rev share would be a really cool piece. But ultimately what happened is, once I got here and I started to talk to people, and I saw exactly what you saw, right? I mean, everybody, top agents from all across the United States were jumping on phone calls or jumping on Zooms to share information. It was just mind blowing to see all this happen. And we had never seen that at Keller Williams. And not that our experience there was bad. In fact, I mean, I loved my 3 years there, but this had just taken it to a totally different level. But the fact that you brought up culture, that to me, that just nails it. Because if you get amongst a group of people who share similar interests, who share similar beliefs and values, they're actually going to pull you up. You guys are all going to go together. It's right. Together we go far. Alone we go fast. Together we go far. Right. And so to me, that just nails it. But talk to me about this has always been, I don't want to say a challenge for me, but it's something we hold as a priority, because like you said, you can't duplicate a culture, right? But how do you protect that culture, Vincent? How do you build that culture so that people, they want to be a part of it?
I think it has a lot to do with communication and how you treat each other, right? So you always have to have an organization where, cooperation above everything else. And I think the magic does happen when we do get together, right? So I don't know how you do it, but, we have our branch office. We get together on a regular basis. We get together outside as well, and
work hard, play hard.
That's it. that's it, right? We vacation together, we travel to conferences together. All of those things help and build culture,
Yeah.
right? You know, I don't know how I would do it if I were to start it from scratch. It would be one person at a time. You know, luckily we walked in with, we came from good culture into good culture, right? And we just kind of had to preserve.
Yeah.
You know, to build it from scratch, I don't know. I don't know how that would be. I guess it might even be easier because you have more control.
Yeah. Well, and you have more experience to build on as well. You know what I mean? So I think that totally makes sense. Talk to me about this. What does the whole revenue share piece, I mean, what does that mean to the people that you know, are a part of your group?
You know what it means is everybody wins, right? And we're able to share in the production of the entire company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I had something similar with the last franchise that I was with. It was Exit Realty, and I don't know if you're familiar, but they had a system of single level residuals as well, and it was based off revenue share, which was great. But the issue was it was only tied to that one person, so only one person benefited. With what we have at EXP, the whole team wins.
Yeah.
Right. You've got it. You know. You've got 7 tiers of benefit, right?
Yeah.
So that makes everything more of a team sport. Everybody's kind of chipping in, saying, "Hey, how can we help each other succeed?"
Yeah.
Right? It's making the biggest difference in my opinion, right?
Do you think, Vincent, that if you have people on your team who have essentially people on their team, right? People that they found and help provide a platform for here at EXP, and they're making a monthly residual income. Do you think it's much harder for them to leave than if they had no revenue share and none of that opportunity?
100%. Why would they? The hardest part about our business is putting the deals close enough together so that we don't have the gaps in between the paychecks.
Right.
Right. And to be able to have 12 additional paychecks every single month, I think is a tremendous opportunity and a tremendous benefit to be a part of EXP Realty, right?
Sure.
So to not have that, you could join almost any other company.
Right.
Right. So that's one of the things that we bring to the table that's different.
Yeah. And, one of the coolest things that I've never been much of just buying the single stock guy. I've never been that guy really. But one of the things I really love is that I have them taking 10% out of my I have them taking the 5% out of my check, every check, and buying stock at a 10% discount.
Like a 401k, right?
Yeah. And I freaking love that, man. I don't like, I have the ticker on my phone, you know what I mean? Because I've got an iPhone here and it's got the stock ticker, and I put the EXPI stock at the top, man. And it's been really fun lately because it's gone over like $17 a share, right? And I remember buying it like $6 a share, you know what I mean, when we joined a couple of years ago, man. And it's just, that part's been really fun as an agent because it's never been there. And again, this is not to bash other real estate companies, but we're still doing the exact same stuff we did at Keller Williams. And we have all these additional opportunities to build wealth. And that's really what I love about this. It's really a no-brainer to see people, at other companies. I mean, I get it, but if you're truly in the business to build long-term wealth, to me, it's a no-brainer to join this company because these other things they simply are not offered at other places.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree. And the best part about the stock for me is, when the more I own and the more I get to invest into it, it's like I'm investing in you, Mike.
Yeah.
And I'm investing in you, your production, your drive, all of those things. And when I see all the people that are out there pushing this company forward, I'm happy to put my money into it. I'm happy to be receiving free stocks and be granted stocks because I see the people that are behind this company.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Like I've accumulated over the last 2 years just over $200,000 worth of stock. And it's like, I wasted 3 years at KW and didn't get any stock. You know what I mean? And what's so beautiful about the model is that the $16,000 that we invest as a cap, right, comes right back in the form of stock that is now worth twice as much as it was when they gave it to me last year, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen that. I've seen people that have, vested their stock and noticed triple the return.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun, man. And you know what? I feel that, you got a great energy about it. And obviously I do. I know we're so happy to be a part of, what this company's doing. And, again, I don't want it to be a commercial for EXP. And this show is really about recruiting and retaining talent. And, obviously a big part of us coming to EXP was being able to retain talent, right? And if you can recruit by providing the best, what we feel is the best opportunity in real estate, and then retain by offering, additional wealth streams to the people that join our group, then that's what you're going to do. But just because it makes the most business sense, and it makes the life a lot easier for us, right?
Right. I absolutely agree. And I feel like you really have to be confident about the product that you're offering, and you really have to stand behind it, right? So if you're in a brokerage and you don't feel that brokerage is offering the best thing for the agents coming in, why would you push that?
Yeah.
Right? Why would you go out there and say, hey, join my team, if you're not confident that your team's the best place to be?
Right.
Right? So it makes things so much easier when you have everything kind of set up nicely, and you know that the top agents are being rewarded properly, right? Then it becomes easier, because the hardest thing for us brokers is to go out there and, bring an agent in, start them from scratch, get them up to be not only producing, but become a top producer, only to lose them somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the problem we ran into, right? For years and years and years. I mean, when we were building our teams out, is producing building really good agents, and then them going on or moving on for better opportunities. And certainly we feel like we've solved that problem with both of our moves.
Yeah.
Tell me this, man, because I know we're up against the clock here now, but what I want to know, what drives you, man, now with all the experience you have and where you're at today in your business, what drives you right now, Vincent?
I think it's just it's the ability to know that you're kind of setting somebody else up, right?
Yeah.
I like to really think back, and it's been a year, but I've already had the experience of agents that have followed me saying, oh my gosh, look, I can't believe that I even doubted moving over with you.
Yeah.
Because look now, right?
Yeah.
Take a look now that, I've got equity in this company, and my equity cost me this much, and now it's worth this much. I like to be a part of that.
Oh yeah.
I like to be a part of that. I like to be almost responsible for that.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's a little harder, if it takes more effort to get somebody new to take a look and see the model, I'm happy to go through that trouble, because I know it's worth it at the end.
Yeah. You'll get what you want if you help enough other people get what they want, right? It's the old Zig Ziglar adage, man. Well, that's fantastic, man. So what is your business destination? Where are you looking to take all this, man?
Well, I heard, I think it was Pat Hayes say this, and I got a real kick out of it. He retired his wife, using the EXP's business model.
Yeah.
And as soon as I heard that, I think I was in Vegas or something, or Orlando or something like that. I took out my phone and I texted my wife. I took a picture of the screen. I said, take a look at that guy. Look what he did. That's what I'm going to do for you. Okay. And so that, that's one of my immediate goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Pat retired his wife, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's all with residual income, right? From revenue share, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd love that. I mean, you heard my that was my youngest son that came in before. I've got two others that are a little bit older than he is.
Yeah.
And, I want her to be around to see them grow up, and, I want to be around for that as well. So it'd be nice for her not to have to work and, for her to be able to focus on raising the kids.
Well, I know all the women in the audience today are just like, oh, I wish I had a Vincent.
Yeah.
He's taken, ladies.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Just to put a bow on it, Vincent, man, how can people connect with you if they have more questions about, recruiting or retaining talent, or questions about EXP or anything else for that matter?
Yes, social media, I think I'm pretty easy to find. Instagram handle is Vincent Koo _NYC. That's a good place. All right. So
cool.
_NYC.
Well, as usual, I love sharing these stories week after week because I know this show is literally changing agents' financial lives, my own included. Do me a big favor. If you know someone that might enjoy the podcast, please share it with them. And if you like the podcast, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. If you want to jump on a 30-minute call with me for a free business strategy session, go to mikewalllive.com. And that's it for this one. Vincent, thank you so much, my man.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
Boom.